We now want to focus and switch our focus from talking about the passions that come within us and the passions that are present within those that we are counseling to talk about wisdom. What is the basic strategy for moving with wisdom into the depths of somebody else's soul? Let me give you a little sketch, a little story that might help us to get into that. And it might look a little bit complex, but if we go through it slowly enough, I think you'll be able to see that there is a simplicity to it that will at the same time guide you as you are conversing with somebody about the depths of their soul. But it will not give you enough specificity to do without the Holy Spirit. You need the Spirit of Christ. You must rely upon the Lord, and you must be attending to and interested in in knowing where the Spirit is moving and where the Spirit is guiding. It is a guide that requires the Spirit for it to move well into somebody else's life. And here's how I think about it. You're chatting with somebody, and they make it known to you. Maybe they have a presenting problem, and the opportunity for pastoral counseling kind of begins. Maybe it's a small way. You're standing outside, church in the hallway, or they come and they make an appointment with you or whatever. And somebody's in your office and says to you, pastor or worker or whatever, I'm struggling. And this person says to you, my friend, um, I'm hurting. I have got this going on in my life and I'm confused and I don't know what is happening, and they present a problem. Now, the story develops this way. From a presenting problem that they offer, the person who is providing pastoral counseling needs to immediately think vision. Vision. We need to ask the question, not what is wrong, but what is possible. There needs to be a mood of excitement, a mood of anticipation, a mood of not correction and judgment and fixing and repair. You're not working on a car, but a mood of where is this person at? But I have confidence from the bottom of my soul that a vision can emerge within me, that the Spirit of God could actually bring about something wonderful in this person's life. What is my vision for them? So from a presenting problem to vision, now you are at a place where you realize that a person could become being, but you realize they're not there yet. Then you do start having to ask the hard question. Well, okay, what's exactly wrong? What is the root problem? What is happening beneath the waterline in the depths of this individual soul? What is the problem? What is the real problem in their life? Now, I'm going to suggest to you, let me not get ahead of myself too much here, but I'm going to suggest to you that the best way to understand the problems beneath the presenting problem, the root problem, the thing that's deeper than the thing that they tell you about, the deep problems of the interior world beneath the problems of the exterior world, is to think in terms of what I choose to call flesh dynamics. Now, it's very interesting. You could call them psychological dynamics. The phrase was actually popularized by Freud back in 1895 when he began to think with us about the fact that there are forces going on, very dynamic forces that are happening at the core of human personality that need to be understood and explored. And I want to suggest to you a biblical way of looking at the same thing, about what's happening inside of us that is bad, that is wrong, that is troublesome. Is it not um, psychological dynamics, but maybe flesh dynamics, the unrenewed spirit within? Now, with this thought in mind, we will look at this more carefully as the time goes on. What I'm suggesting we do is, as people make their own presenting problems known to us, that we actually reframe that problem with questions. We reframing is where you put a new picture frame around it. You look at it a bit differently. We take the problem that the person presents to us and we put a different frame around it. We say, yes, you've gotten very angry about such, and I would like to know more about your anger and the general story of your life. I would like to hear about you and all of your anger with all of your relationships. And by asking certain kinds of questions, open questions in which you cause them to open up and tell you more and tell the story, we will look very carefully. We encourage the person to start talking, not about their presenting problem only. We do not diminish or ignore that they have such, but we shift away from the focus just on the problem, little problem that they bring to you, and we focus on the story of their soul. We want to call this pastoral counseling. We want to call it soul care. We want to provide care for the deepest part of the human personality, not just advice or empathy or support for a presenting problem. We want to provide soul care. We want to encourage the person with the well-chosen questions to think about the story of their life and their relationships and the story of their present important relationships and the story of their past important relationships and the story of their immediate relationships with you, even as you're speaking back and forth with them, and the story of their deepest relationship of all, and that is the relationship they had with the living Lord. Then as we begin talking about this, we listen, but we listen with such categories of reflection. As you are telling me the story of your life, what is happening in my mind? How am I thinking about what you are telling me? Am I understanding it? Do I have a roadmap for knowing how to understand what is happening in you as you talk about the fact that your mother was never there, as you talk about the fact that your mother was your worst critic, as you talk about the fact that your father was an alcoholic or a friendly alcoholic who laughed a lot when he got drunk, or how about you actually encourage him to drink more to make him happier, or whatever it might be. And as you tell some of these stories to me, do I have categories for reflecting meaningfully on those stories in a way as we chit chat together over time that allows the real battle within your soul to become more and more clear? Do I begin to understand the battle, what is going on inside of your soul? Do I realize that this battle is really the battle that the Apostle Paul talks about in several of his epistles, the battle between the flesh and the spirit, the new reality that God has put within you? Do we begin to understand your unique case, not in just terms, general terms, but in your unique case? How is the battle working out itself in your life? The battle between the way you are trying to make your life work without God and the way that the Spirit of God within you is calling you to move towards God with an appetite for Him. There is a battle in each of our souls that is a battle between the flesh and the spirit. And then, do I have the ability, the power, the wisdom to realize that there is something in me when released towards you that is the effect of that spirit within me to move towards this huge battle of yours in the flesh and in the spirit in a way that causes the flesh to become less appealing. It causes the whole way you live your life under the flesh to be something that you just do not want to do as much because there is something else that you want to do more. And does the spirit within you begin to feel a new sense of life that moves you towards the vision that the Spirit of God has for you? That to me is a basic strategy for moving into people's life. It's a model. Maybe we could call it a wisdom model. But now if we're going to follow that strategy, what I would like to do is I would like to take apart this model. I know that it can look imposing at first, but if you go really slow with me, I think that you will see that it can be not a confusing something or other, that it will take 20 years of training to begin to understand how to do it. It's not all that, it's not all of that. It's really very simple. But let us take it step by step at a time and go very slowly through the model. In this in this lecture, I want to cover just A couple of the top items. The opportunity for pastoral care and pastoral counseling begins when someone makes known their presenting problem to you. That's step one. It begins on the other side, not with the counselor, but with the counselee. The one who provides pastoral counseling knows that the relationships are vital. It's the one who knows they sense a sense of inadequacy inside them. And we talked about that in previous lectures. And who knows about their own self-centeredness and your self-centeredness, who is broken over that, who is repentant of that, and none too happy about it, who also has a vision for the person they're talking with, who is curious about that person. If all of that is present within you now, and somebody comes to you and they begin to share with you about this or that problem, what I want to talk about with you is, how do you respond to that presenting problem? As the problem is shared, what needs to be happening in you as you begin to enter the battle for the soul? Someone lets you know. Let's make it something that will sound a little bit silly for a moment. Let's someone lets you know, um you're a couple of buddies chatting over lunch. That's the context, okay? And someone lets you know, one friend says to you, I really get mad at the dumbest things. Last night, the toilet overflowed and I lost my temper and I really screamed and hollered and made a mess of things and I was very fussy and I just really handled it poorly. And I do not get why I get so upset over these dumb little things like that. No, that's an opportunity, right? That's an opportunity right there for counseling, for pastoral care. Why do we get so mad about that, man? Man, that drove me nuts. A person shares that with you, and you're sitting over lunch. Well, what is your natural response? Isn't it to say something like this? Yeah, me too. I get like that a lot. That's not all bad. I do not suppose that it's not a lot of soul care going on. It's not a lot of pastoral counseling going on, but it is a little bit of empathy. Oh yeah, I have that story too. I can I can connect with you. And then maybe something would be really simplistic. Well, did you have your devotions this morning? We ask. Well, that would have fixed it. Maybe you wouldn't be as simplistic as that. But how do you proceed? Do you say any of those things? When a person shares a problem, let me suggest that you don't do those things. The initial response within you, as you try to be effective in providing pastoral counseling, is to think vision. Think vision. Do not talk vision. Think vision. Do not begin by saying to the person, I have a vision for you. My vision for you is that when the toilet overflows, you're going to sing the Hallelujah chorus. Hallelujah. No, no, no. Talk vision. Think vision. Don't get silly like that, but think vision. Think inside of yourself. Here's a human being who bears the image of God, who's fallen and yet who's redeemed, and they have a response of inappropriate anger that hurt their wife, that troubled their children, that was not a good thing at all. They have this response of anger, and maybe it is much bigger thing. Maybe it's going to a topless bar, or maybe it's having affairs, or maybe it's swearing a profound amount. Whatever the problem may be, whatever the problem is, initially begin not by giving advice, not by talking to them about their problem, but by thinking vision. Now, let me tell you what I mean. There you are. You're going to provide pastoral counseling for this friend of yours who presents what seems to be, on the surface, like a little trivial problem. He lost his temper when something inconvenienced him, when the toilet overflowed. Suppose if I could tape record your mind as your friend shares that with you. Suppose I heard something in your mind like this. This is what I mean when I say think vision. Suppose I was tape recording your mind as you were talking to your friend, and all of a sudden your mind says, my friend really does have a temper. I do not know what's going on. I haven't got a clue why he gets so mad about that. I sure noticed it before. And here is one more illustration of it. I don't know what's going on, but I do know that the Spirit right now at this moment is present in our conversation. I do know that right now, with this Spirit, the Spirit is active within my friend's life. He is moving because the Spirit is always at move and in motion. And I believe that. And right now, I'm thinking about the fact that the Spirit of God, with all of his limitless power, is moving in my friend's soul. And in the middle of this apparent trivial little minor difficulty, the very fact that my friend told me about this over lunch tells me that something is going on inside my friend's soul. I do not know what it is, but the Spirit is working. He chose to speak with me about this. Can you start to feel a little tingle? Can you start to get a little bit excited? Can you think back to maybe the Narnia series of C.S. Lewis, who wrote wonderfully, where he said, Aslan is on the move. The Holy Spirit is doing something here. Something is beginning to happen. Can you start to think vision? And suppose your mind, as I'm tape recording, just your mind, I hear something like this, you know, as I listen to my friend talk about this, an image comes to my mind. The first image of where he is right now, he seems like empty, a scared little kid that has to prove he can handle stuff. And when things go wrong, he just gets petulant and frustrated and angry, like a little kid with the neighborhood kids who's trying to impress them. You get the strange little image that pops up to you that might be all wrong, but it occurs to you. And so you allow it to come to your mind and you think, well, that is my vision of where he is right now. It's not my vision of where I would like him to be. Not the vision in a rich sense, but then your mind goes further and you say, that's where he is. But I can picture something different about my friend. I can picture him as a solid, God trusting man that nothing really threatens, that whether it is something that reveals this level of incompetence, he does not know how to handle little plumbing problems, or whether it's bigger things. He loses his job, whether it's far bigger, he discovers that he has cancer. But in the middle of whatever is happening, I can envision this guy as a solid man who is in the middle of all of the frustration and all of the failures and all of the rest of it, that there is something that is anchored and deep and real within him. Man, wouldn't that be something? To believe that that is there. It's there. Maybe it's undeveloped in form, but maybe because of our time together as we talk right now, that could be just a little bit more real within him. Maybe Christ could form in him. Man, I would love that to happen. Suppose that is the way that you will begin to think as you talk to your friend. I've not got a clue of how to make all of this happen, but boy, does that sound good. Your initial response is to think vision. That is what I mean by thinking vision. Now, do hear that this suggestion that I'm making to you about pastoral counseling and about how to think vision when a problem is presented is very different than what most of us do. What most of us do is we don't think vision at all. We think analysis. We think, what's wrong with this guy? Why would something like that get to him? Does he feel incompetent? What's the whole issue? Is it that he is mad at his wife and is taking it out on the toilet? I mean, what is this guy? What's going on with him? And I got to figure it out so I can help him. I'm suggesting to you that you don't do that you don't begin to think analysis, and also, and this may be a little bit hard to understand, do not think help. Do not think, how can I help this guy? What do I have to do? You are just going to feel pressure, and your friend will feel pressured. That will be the outcome of thinking in that way. He will wish he had never brought it up. So do not think analysis and do not think help. Rather, think vision. And when you think vision, let me tell you what happens inside your own soul. As you think vision, it creates a prayerful spirit within you. It creates a space, a quiet space within your own soul that you are longing for the Spirit of God to fill. It creates a space in your own soul when you think about, here is where he is. Here is where he could be. Oh, I long for that. Oh God, could I be useful in his life by you to bring that about? Let me open my ears right now, not to figure him out, but to the Spirit. Knowing the Spirit is moving in my friend's life, can I think about that? You will think about that. That will be on your mind if you are thinking vision. No pressure within you, no judgment within you of where he is, no retreat or meaningless support. All the don'ts are being avoided now. You listen. And you are asking questions because you are curious. And you are thinking reflectively, not analytically. You are in the pastoral counseling mode because the thought now is vision. You have made a place for the Spirit to begin to enliven you. And now you are ready to begin moving into this man's life with your mouth. You have already moved into his life with your heart. You are there already with your heart towards this person. And now it's time to speak words. And as you think vision, as you wait for the Spirit of God to lead you and to direct you, you do not wait passively. Passively. You wait very actively. You are sitting there and you are thinking, what is this man? What is he that he could be? What would it be like if the image of God with him that was marred and scarred so much with the fall into sin that happened to the whole human race, the image of him was solid and renewed as opposed to empty, and the Spirit of God was leading me to help him to become more like that. Man, what an exciting thing. And you start to think about the presenting problem that he had actually presented to you, and your focus now, and here we come back to an earlier lecture, your focus now is on the word relentless. A good word here, eh? It has a bit of antagonistic feel to it, but let me use it anyhow. Relentless curiosity. Curiosity that says, I'm so eager to know you that I really want to ask questions. I really want to know. And your focus is on the curiosity. It's not on an analysis. It's not on advice. It's not on affirmation. Those are the three A's actually of bad pastoral counseling: advice, analysis, and affirmation. Don't go there first. Not at all. Bad A's. In response to, I got so mad last night when the toilet overflowed. I don't know why I get so mad, but I get mad a lot. You thought vision. You are thinking vision. You have a space for the Spirit now within you, and you're curious. And then you say something that when I suggest the words to you, it might just sound so simple, and you will say, well, anybody could think of that. And that is my point. Anybody who is curious and anyone who's thinking vision could think of this. And what they would say would be something simple. I can think of 10 possibilities right now. One might be something like this. What did you do when you got so mad? That's simple, but it's coming out of curiosity. You would like to recreate the scene. You would like to know that the toilet overflowed, the guy got mad, and what does it mean? What does it mean that he took the lid off of the thing and he hurled it across the room? What does it mean that he said a bad word? What did it mean that he just walked away and put on the television and watched it for 2 hours? You're curious, so you want to know what your friend did when he got mad last night over this little inconvenience. Now notice the difference between curiosity and judgment or pressure or analysis. I could ask a question, well, what did you do with the spirit of judgment on him? What did you do? I could ask the question, what did you do when handling that? You got so angry. Well, did you really lose your temper and yell at your wife? I want to see if you really mishandled this whole thing. Or it could be an analytical kind of thing. Well, I wonder, what did you what you did because I'm ready to put on my thinking cap and figure this whole thing out. The words matter so much less than the energy beneath them, the energy with which you speak them. And it's really why what you say is it makes so much of a difference by the energy that's behind it, not so much what what the words themselves are, but how you say them, with the energy behind it. That's the big difference. And it's why you say it and what it is in you. That is why we spend so much time in the last couple of weeks on the issues of passions, on the issues of what's alive within you, as you say, what did you do? What if, what's alive within you? What did you do so that I can straighten you out? What did you do? What did you do that shows me your problem so I can figure it out? You're not doing pastoral counseling if you're talking like that, but rather, what did you do then? Because your friend, it is your friend. And you would love to know what is happening in their life. If that's the energy behind your question of curiosity, what did you do then? And you're a curious person who your friend would love to feel safe with and would like to open up to you. You ask, what did you do? The energy of respectful curiosity with your friend's response, the one of wanting to tell you more. Well, I'll tell you a little bit, they say, but not too much because I do not want to get beat in the head by your moralism, repaired by your therapy. The friend will rather say, well, I'm glad you asked. I'm, I guess I kind of ashamed to tell you this, but I said some words that I shouldn't have. I kind of went off the rails. I guess I got mad about the whole thing and stormed off, and my poor wife just had to put up with me for the rest of the evening. I didn't feel so good. And the ruling passion within you will help your friend to feel safe enough to let you know what he is ashamed of. And that there, when he lets you know what he's ashamed of, that creates an opportunity for you to begin to know, to explore, to discover, and to touch what is alive within him. He has opened up his life to you just a little bit. Now, when expressed curiosity is coupled with this assumed vision, and both are energized by the Holy Spirit, love, good conversation of pastoral care and counseling is about to begin. And that's how it works. The person is not going to merely complain and make known facts to you, but there is going to be now, listen very carefully to this important point. There's going to be, when you do it the way we are suggesting, when there is a meaningful curiosity and you are thinking vision and you are doing it in the energy of love, guided by the Spirit of Christ, and you say to your friend, well, what did you do? And he begins telling you, and you ask for clarification, and you ask for 10 or 15 minutes about all of this. What's going to happen at some point? Your friend will, in the middle of his personal revelations, which are an invitation to you to know him, to explore him, to discover him, and to touch him, to move him in his soul, as your friend begins to make known his personal revelations to you, you're going to notice something in your friend. Now, what you're going to notice is a little point of confusion. Your friend is going to highlight a point of confusion. He might say something, I don't know, like, I don't know why I get so mad. Oh, there's the point of confusion. Why is he telling you that? I don't know why I get so mad. Yeah, it really upsets Peggy because, man, she puts up with all of this all the time, and I guess I do get mad a lot, and it really isn't good. I know it isn't right. I just don't get it. I'm so confused about it. I mean, how does a toilet overflowing have the power to make me into a seething, angry volcano that is exploding? I really got mad. I'm not even sure who I got mad at, or what I got mad at, or what I got mad about. I don't understand it. I'm just confused. You see how the confusion begins to come up because you're exploring them and discovering them. And when your friend is at the point of that confusion, when your curiosity leads your friend to an acknowledgement of confusion, the tension has been created for you to then enter into your friend's soul. It's a good tension. It's a creative tension. A problem has been shared. The person has made it known, and they say, I am a mystery to myself. What they're saying is, beneath the waterline, I don't know what's going on, and I am confused. It's at this point that you can then begin to shift from the presenting problem to the story of the soul. It is at that point that you can begin to ask questions, questions that direct the person away from the specifics of what happened with the toilet and what did he do with his anger. I call those the above the waterline, logistical, questions, and can move away from that, move away from those specifics, which you have spent 10, 15, 20 minutes on, 30 minutes, 40 minutes talking about that. But then that point of tension comes. I don't know why I get like that. Oh, there's the confusion. That's the opportunity. That's the door that has all of a sudden been opened that you've been looking and waiting for to emerge by your friend. And for you, you begin to ask a different kind of question, questions that begin to reframe the problem from a specific moment that was poorly handled to a specific moment that is part of a larger story of the soul who is struggling in his or in her relationships. That is when you begin to reframe from why do I get so mad to how can I stop it? To I wonder what is going on in my important relationships. It is not just a matter of learning anger control techniques. It is not just a matter of analyzing the source of the anger. At that moment and learning to cognitively say new sentences to yourself that stop you from being so mad at the moment. It is not a matter of that sort of thing. It is a matter of moving from the presenting problem to the story of the soul. You begin asking reframing questions. What do I mean by reframing? Yeah. Ask questions that move in 4 simple directions. One direction towards present important relationships. You might ask a question like, what does Peggy do when you get mad like that? That's a reframing question. You have shifted from anger and inconvenience to a relational issue. What does Peggy do? That's important. Relationship. That is what you talk about first. Second, you might ask a question about past important relationships. You talk about this. Did you ever get mad when you were a kid like this? Do you know? Did your dad ever drive you nuts, or did you ever work with your dad in the shop or make a mistake and your dad yelled at you for it? I would just love to know more about your past a little bit. I'm not trying to play psychologist here. You're my friend and I care about you. I would like to know about the story of your soul. So I ask about some past important relationships where maybe something like this came up, or you witnessed it, or it was kind of like mentored. You just watched it over and over again occur. Then, thirdly, and this is a little tricky, you might ask a question that has to do with the present, immediate relationship between you and your friend right now as you talk. You might say something like this, you know, as you tell me that, can I tell you what's stirring inside of me? Can I tell you what I feel right now? Can I tell you that I'm really glad to have you as a friend? You drive me nuts in some ways, but here we are Here are the ways that I'm just thrilled to have you as my friend. Yeah, because you get mad a lot, but there is something in you that just feels alive. And I'm just so glad that we are friends and we have these kind of moments to talk about these things. You might make it personal like that and ask a question about the present immediate relationship that's present in the conversation between you and the one that you're giving pastoral counsel to. And fourth, and obviously most pivotal, you might ask a free framing question to get the story of the soul about the person's most important relationship, the deepest relationship, the eternal relationship that they have with God. And you might say something simple. Do not try to find the right answer or the exact wording, but you might just say something like, how do you think about God when you're so angry and mad? Or after you get over your anger and you're sitting there realizing, what a fool you've made of yourself, or in that moment, how do you visualize God? I mean, if he were here in the room, what expression would you see on his face? Or whatever question occurs to you about God, just to get people to talk about that relationship in their life as it relates to the problem, you see. It's not about what you would do, it's about the relationship. From hearing the presenting problem to thinking vision, to having curiosity about the presenting problem that leads to a reframing of the presenting problem into the story of the soul. Now, do you see what's happening? Now, are you listening to the story of the soul? Are you listening to the story of the soul with hope? Because you've been thinking vision. What do you do as you listen? How do you think about what you're hearing? How do you move with what you are hearing? And that will be the topic of our next lecture. I'll be with you soon in that lecture.